Hey guys, by Austin Ramos, and this past Saturday, the Miami Dolphins defeated the Washington Commanders 13-6 in a very uneventful preseason game, but there was some high points for the Miami Dolphins. It was a highly defensive matchup, and the Dolphins did come out on top, but aside from the first drive with the starting, most of the starting unit on offense, it was not the best game in terms of players getting in the end zone, so on and so forth. I mean, the Commanders didn't even get the end zone once. Dolphins only had it on their first drive, which we'll get into in a second. But yeah, the backup QB battle between Scotty Thompson and Mike White is kind of a toss-up right now, and even then, still kind of lackluster performance from both those guys. I know they're not playing with the most talented players, but I still am struggling to see a clear-cut decision on who is going to be the backup QB. Right now, Scotty Thompson has been getting most of the reps in terms of, getting the second-team reps, etc., in terms of the preseason play, but it's still a toss-up. The performance has been kind of lackluster out of both. Mike White did outperform him in terms of stats, but he did have more attempts, but he also had more mistakes. So those are some things I took away from seeing this. The defense, I'm loving what the defense is looking like, even with I like the scheme and how the aggression and how things are being played out on the defensive side of the ball. I know we're not seeing a majority of the starters out there, but it's still good to see kind of what of an idea that we could get from this Anthony Weaver led defense. So those are things that I liked seeing, but those are things down the line that we're gonna have to figure out as they go. But let's get into some highlights, and man, I'm excited for these because we got Tua on the field, and he's hyped. He's only one drive out of Tua, unfortunately, but it was a good one. So started off a little early, evading a sack here and getting a little sidearm throw into Julian Hill. And Julian Hill, bulls his way for extra yardage, but then loses the ball coming to the ground. Still recovers it. Good essence in mind there. And then this is the throw everyone's been talking about. It's the throw to River Craycraft in the corner of the end zone on 4th down. And man, Tua's legit. He can put the ball anywhere he wants. And when he puts it in the receiver's hands for 6 points, it's nothing but good. But yeah, you're gonna see a couple angles here on this Tua touchdown to River Craycraft. I mean, I just think this is a beautiful ball, and just put it right where only River Craycraft can catch that, and that's all you can really ask for out of your QB1. But that was all the action Tua saw that night. He went 5 for 5, 51 total yards and a touchdown. You can't ask for a better performance than that. And Scotty Thompson, even though he didn't put too many numbers on the stat sheet, he had some pretty decent throws. This one was to Devon Achane, and Achane is looking good there as well. Achane again, so those two together were putting in some work with the second unit, making the defender miss. Loving what I'm seeing from Achane. Hopefully, get a full healthy season out of him. But this was one of the surprising performers of the night was Braylon Sanders. Big time grab. This was to keep the drive going early on in the second quarter. And, he's letting the defenders and everyone else in the field know that he got that first down. Big hiccup here by Braxton Berrios. I know it says highlights on the top right, but, there are some lowlights in this too. Braxton Berrios got to catch that ball. If ball's hitting you in the shoulder pad, and looking like Alex Earl there, man. I don't know what to tell you. But we also have Cam Smith. He had himself quite a night. He was making some PBUs all night long. A little bit of holding there, but not going to crucify the guy. And, it wasn't called, but, hopefully some of that technique will be fixed heading into the season. How about the first-round pick, Chop Robinson, getting in the backfield in a hurry and, getting a TFL on a run play. If he was there any quicker, he would have botched that handoff, and then who knows what would have happened. Would have had a little fumble there. It would have been interesting to see what would have came of it. But a few plays later, another draftee for the Dolphins, Mo Camaro, getting a sack. And, Jalen Phillips is loving it. Even the commentator like, oh, slow down a bit, Jalen. We need you for the start of the season. But yeah, Mo Camaro is pretty hyped up. And deservedly so. It was a big-time play there by him. And then Sirianni Neal getting the nice deflection late in the second quarter. Pretty much almost closing out the half. Love it when I see some big defensive plays on the Dolphins end here. But moving on into the second half, after the boys are getting hyped, we got Eric Uzomah flipping the field after almost getting tackled for a loss. But hey, if you can stay up and make some good yardage of it, why not? And we'll see more of Eric Uzomah in this highlight. But how about Brooks, man? Just getting loose and almost got to unhitch the wagon a bit there to get in the end zone, evade that tackle, and he would have been in the end zone for 6. Offensive players over here on the sidelines are loving it, and deservingly so. Unfortunately, Brooks got a little dinged up following that play. Hopefully all the best for him. This is one of those type of plays that I was saying that, just leaving me a bit concerned is just Skylar Thompson. Just got to get rid of that ball. Can't afford to get that sack there. But all in all, not so bad. Brandon Peely getting in, a little leg tackle for the sack, and he's hyped. I love his little celebration here. I'm pretty sure it's some sort of like little anime type of thing, but yeah, gotta love those type of celebrations. Mike White dropping the ball in perfectly for Eric Uzomah. See, these are the type of plays that you want to see the backup quarterbacks making in the preseason, making those type of reads, making those type of throws, the placement of it was all really good. But then, you follow it up a couple plays later with a strip sack fumble, and, not too much of a fault here. You're getting tackled on the windup, but then no one jumps on the ball. Unfortunately, the Commanders recovered it. So there are some things that when I take away from this game is gotta have, some type of internal clock, and getting the ball quicker. So you're like, this is a quick rethrow to Willie Snead, and another thing there, like Willie Snead's trying to make the roster, and he would have loved to see him, make an effort like Eric Uzomah did here and try to, gain more yardage, but it's neither here or there. It's just one play at a time. This is an undrafted rookie, and this was one of the guys from Rhode Island, Colbert, and man, big strip tackle right here. And, Commanders were having some head of steam in that drive, and that put an end to it. Patrick McMorris ended up jumping on top of that. But yeah, more from, this is Mike Harley actually. Another little low light here. Unfortunately, Mike Harley couldn't reel this one in, and being one of the more prominent receivers to come out of in terms of receptions, you would hope he would bring in a ball, but he's one of those wide receiver hopefuls trying to make this roster. And then this is one of the final plays here. Tip drill. Perry comes up with the ball and sees his green grass, but forgot to lock in that ball, and the Commanders come out on top of that ball. But to no avail in terms of the Commanders. They had some pretty decent plays, but I really wanted to just focus on the Dolphins in this one, especially since it's just preseason right now. But big-time stand-up performers. Brooks, I think he's found a way to secure himself a roster spot. Eric Uzomah, fringe. I think he's going to make the roster, but he's going to be cycling on and off the training squad. Craycraft secured himself a roster spot. Sneeds is still fighting there. Julian Hill secured himself a roster spot. So I think 3 tight ends for the Dolphins, John Hill, Durham Smythe, and Julian Hill. Those are going to be some guys that are going to be big time for the Dolphins this upcoming season. Really excited to see what John Smith can fully bring to the table. Just off this game alone, he had 4 receptions for 23 yards. He was big time in that first drive and early on in the second half, also with Skylar Thompson. But in that first quarter, the Dolphins only had 1 drive, and that was a drive with Tua. And so going into the second quarter, everything else from then on was Skylar Thompson and Mike White. In terms of their performance, Mike White went 11 of 20, 116 total yards, but was sacked 3 times for a loss of 20 yards. And then Skylar Thompson went 8 of 15, 61 total yards, and was sacked once for a loss of 6 yards. That was that play that you saw him kind of scrambling a bit. You know, I would have really loved to see Skyler get that ball out of his hands, even if he found some type of way to throw it away without getting intentional grounding. I know you kind of got to pick and choose and live to fight another down type of thing, but these are the plays that are going to be deciding whether or not you see Skyler Thompson suited up most games or Mike White suited up most games. Most of the time last year, both of those guys were suited up. Luckily, they never got the call to come into the game to have played the full year, but it's interesting to see. Jaden Daniels, a rookie quarterback for the Washington Commanders, went 10 of 12, 79 total yards. Not so bad, but the defense was throwing him different types of looks. He also had 2 rushes for 13 yards. But all in all, Dolphins had themselves a pretty great game. They had a kind of bend, don't break type of defense approach in this game, and ended up working for them, which was really good. But yeah, I was excited to see, you know, the fight in the defense. But aside from that, there was a lot of mistakes, like that interception that ended up fumbling, and then the Commanders recovered, so they ended up just getting a new first down. Those are things that, you know, you want to see tightened up. I know these are guys that was in the end of the fourth quarter, so these are fringe players and stuff like that, but these are the plays that are going to decide whether or not you make it on the team. So yeah, Mark Perry gotta secure that ball if you really want to, you know, lock in and get a spot here. All in all, great game for the Dolphins. Wish they would have seen them, you know, make it in the end zone, have more red zone success, because I think the Dolphins in the red zone, let's see what the red zone efficiency was. Dolphins made it to the red zone 3 times and was efficient 1 time, and that was a drive with Tua. Commanders 0 for 2, and they had a lot of missed field goals, so those are things that, you know, definitely went in the Dolphins' favor. But it is preseason, so at the end of the preseason, these records, these stats off or not, but these are, you know, plays that will decide whether or not this player makes it on team while this other player doesn't. But a lot of key decisions for the Dolphins to make in the next coming weeks. One more final preseason game. It is with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They will also, this one's on the road in Tampa. Dolphins will be having some joint practices in Tampa with the Buccaneers. So let's look forward to that. I will do a pre-game video for this one, talk about some guys to look out for, guys who are kind of fringe players, who can be on the bubble, who's going to, you know, kind of secure themselves a roster spot. And then after that, on the post-game video, we'll kind of dive a little bit more deeper into that, obviously with some highlights and stuff like that. But yeah, appreciate you guys for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.